Creating equitable exams for EAL students. Our targets for today's session include the following. We're going to review what scaffolds and supports are. We're going to talk about the available supports for PATs. We're also going to look at Google Read and Write supports that would be available on all student Chromebooks. We will then look at some examples of scaffolds and supports for EAL Level 5 students, which would be considered limited supports. We'll look at examples of scaffolds and supports for EAL Level 3 and 4 students, which are targeted supports. Examples of scaffolds and supports for EAL Level 1 and 2 students, so intensive supports. And then lastly, some tips and tricks for multiple choice exams. I wanted to begin with why would we scaffold our exams? And I got this quote from a book called From Unlocking Multilingual Learners' Potential. In order for EAL students to meet the challenging demands of content-based instruction and acquire the academic language required to do so, they need instructional supports in the form of scaffolds. And I know most of you joining today are junior high teachers, and for our students who are in junior high, the challenging demands of the content in the junior high classroom is very quite high due to them being at a higher grade level and there being higher expectations and there being no streaming in junior high. So all students are expected to be meeting the grade 7, grade 8, and grade 9 outcomes, and that is a challenging demand of our EAL students. And so we need to make sure we're including supports and scaffolds for those students. So we have a short video to watch here. It's about 3 minutes long. And this video addresses how making language accessible is so important for students, because many of our students come to us with high academic skills and just need the support of the language in order to show the proficiency that they have.
We have testing all week this week and next week. The tests are going to be hard, but that's all right because we're going to try really hard. Isn't that right, Cameron?
Yes, Ms. Peters.
Okay, great. Everyone listen up. So we're going to want to work all week get ours from the answer and the information in the story, okay? We're going to go ahead and test, practical test, and try the actus test. Open your test. Open up. We're going to page. You go to read. First on page 3.
¿Qué dijo? ¿A poco va a empezar el examen? No, es una práctica.
We're going to take notes from the story, and we're going to turn it into a math problem, and we're going to walk through it together, okay? So the boy ran 3 blocks. So everyone write 3 blocks.
I didn't even know. He looked like a street.
How long did it take him to run 3 blocks? Michelle?
6 minutes.
Very good, 6 minutes. All right, so then we're going to take 3 blocks and 6 minutes,
¿Por qué el
right?
niño corre con los bloques? ¿Qué? Sí, ¿por qué el niño corre con los bloques? No,
Okay, so the
corre 3
questions are going to
calles.
go on to ask us, how long will it take him to run 20 blocks? What do we do? How many minutes is that per block?
8 minutes.
Try and remember to raise your hand if you want to answer, okay? No, it's not 8 minutes. Michelle?
18 minutes?
Nope, not 18 minutes. Yes, Enrique?
40?
40, yeah, very good. How'd you get 40?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, 40 is the right answer. How did you get it?
I forgot.
You forgot. Okay. Does anyone know how we get 40? Yes, Moises. Yep, that's right. Very good. Great. Can you tell us how you got that?
40?
Yep, very good. But can you explain to the class what you did here, how you got that?
14.
Okay, all right, you guys, settle down.
That is so dumb.
Joe, do you want to lose your recess?
No.
Okay, then. Thank you, Moises.
Can you help me, please?
Can you take a walk with me? I don't want you to worry about the test, okay, Moises?
Sí, estoy preocupada sobre el examen. La directora Rosa dijo que todavía tenemos que hacer.
Just try your best, okay? Do you understand? Not importante.
Sí, sí es importante.
You're right, Moises. It is important.
Okay. So thank you for joining me with that short video. Some things that I take from that video is number one, how much language the student is having to process on a second by second basis, thinking about it in Spanish and then trying to figure out what the English word is. So the language load is very heavy for our students who are new to learning English. Also, something that I take from that video is that the student has skills, academic skills, and they are desperately trying to show those skills. And also the fact that they know that school is important and they want to do well, and they just need support with the language part in order to be able to do that. So we're going to talk about some supports that can be offered for our students to help them find success. So I wanted to first start by sharing our Continuum of Support document. This is a new document that we've created this year. And in order for students to be successful on exams, the scaffolds that were provided throughout the year must be available or given to students on their exams as well. You can see on this document, it starts at the top with intensive supports, and these would be directed towards EAL level 1 and 2 students. And then targeted supports for our EAL level 3 and 4 students, and then limited supports for our EAL level 5 students. On the left, you can see the teacher strategies, and on the right, student supports. So we're going to be going through and looking at all the different levels. Now, I wanted to be mindful, and we're going to start with some PAT information because I know your grade 9s will be writing PATs, and we don't have a lot of control regarding what we can do for support specific to EAL students on PATs, but I wanted to talk about the ones that are available. So you'll see here I have linked the Alberta Education General Document, or General Bulletin, I'm sorry, and I've snipped a few items from the bulletin that might be useful to you. Just wanted to make you aware that all students are entitled to additional time. Students who are maybe translanguaging, so thinking in their own language and then translating to English and then back again, it might take them some extra time to complete the exam. So those students might take advantage of that additional time. They can also take frequent breaks, and any students are entitled to this as well. Again, thinking back to the video about how much is going through that student's brain at all times. For some students, it would be beneficial for them to take a break from that language load for 10 minutes and take a walk and then come back and refocus on it. Ambient noise again and writing and isolation is available for all students. So if you have any students who are EAL students who you think might benefit from those, again, they don't need to be arranged prior. They can just be made available to the students. And then secondly, wanted to make sure that you're aware that any student who uses audio or has tests or materials read to them throughout the year is entitled to the text-to-speech feature, which is available on Veretta. And again, this doesn't need to be arranged prior. And it is also, again, reiterate, it is available to any students who use audio throughout the year. So they do not have to have an LSP for this to be available for them. Also, any students who use the accommodation of a scribe throughout the year are entitled to a scribe for their exam, specifically related most likely to the writing portion. And then lastly, I just put the reader here because students who use this accommodation throughout the year are entitled to it, but just a note that it is recommended that readers are only used when students are unable to use audio versions on Veretta. So just wanted to point that out for our grade 9 teachers for PATs or grade 6 teachers. Now our ed tech team has done an amazing job with sharing information regarding how to access this support, specifically the text to speech. The EdTech PAT Veretta document that is linked here on the slide, and you can access that, gives you information regarding how to add the text to speech to a student's profile so that the text to speech would be available for all their exams. And then the dictation and select to speak for students in Veretta, there's a link there for some information regarding that. And again, I just highlighted this is for any grades K to 9 students who use it regularly in the classroom. I also wanted to share about Google Read and Write. So for students who are in grade 7 and 8, but maybe writing an exam on a Chromebook, and you would like them to have the opportunity for that exam to be read for them, this is something that's already embedded on all Chromebooks and is available for students to use. So I'll just play, there's just 2 short videos on giving a little tutorial about how to use this feature.
This video shows how to use the screenshot reader in Read and Write for Google Chrome to read images or inaccessible text. The first time you use Screenshot Reader, if it hasn't been pushed out by your admin, you'll be prompted to install it. Once installed, just refresh your tab to get started. Click the Screenshot Reader icon and then drag a box around the text you'd like to read.
Thrust can be produced by an engine piston or turbine spinning a propeller or a turbine jet engine expelling hot gas.
You can use the pause, stop, and play buttons to control the readback. You can even copy the scanned text to your clipboard to paste into a document or other tab. It works on Google Docs, Word Docs, Google Slides, websites, and more.
Sea level pressure composite mean, MB, October.
To learn more about Read and Write, visit texthelp.com.
So I'll just move forward to the next slide here. And this is just a little tutorial that I made that is specific to supports for EAL students. So I'll just press play here and you can see how you can embed some support specifically for EAL students. Thank you for tuning in to this tutorial speaking about how to use Google Read and Write, the screenshot reader feature. And this tutorial is specific to some supports that would help EAL students. I'm just going to go to a screen that has some text on it to show you how you can use this tool. All student Chromebooks have Google Read and Write available on them. It is this purple puzzle piece. It's an add-on. When you click the puzzle piece, it brings up a toolbar of all the tools that are available on Google Read and Write. The one we're speaking about today is this one here called the Screenshot Reader. When I click on the Screenshot Reader, my mouse becomes a little cross and I'm now able to screenshot some text. So I'm going to screenshot this top portion here.
Write a narrative or an essay about the importance of taking personal responsibility in one's life.
Okay, so that's an example of how the screenshot reader will read what it sees here in English. I just wanted to show you a feature here that might be helpful. Once you go into the settings and you click to speech, you can see here there's an option to change the speed. Some students might prefer to have the speed a little slower than the one that automatically comes up, so I'll just show you here now that I've changed the speed.
Write a narrative or an essay about the importance of taking personal responsibility in one's life.
Okay, so you can see there that the rate of reading went down, so it was reading it a little slower. I wanted to show you another feature that's available. You can change the language that the text is read in. So I'll scroll down here. It's available in Spanish, so you would click voice into Spanish. Close this and then click play again.
Brite narrative or an essay about the importance of taking personal responsibility in one's life.
So for our EAL level 1 or 2 students who having the English translated to their home language might allow them to access content in the more content heavy and language heavy sections in your class. Just wanted to show you as well, you can see here that there's a text box that the student might want to get read to them. If I click the screenshot reader again and get the little plus, I can screenshot just this little section.
People are always blaming children for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. The people voted on in this world are.
So you can see there, any text that is on the screen can be you can use the screenshot feature and then it will read that text to the student either in English or in their home country. So I hope you found this tutorial useful and it's something that your students might use in class with a little help from you. So thanks for tuning in. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, friends, I'm just having a hard time moving forward here, but
Thank you
I'll
for
get it
tuning.
going. I'll get it going. Don't worry. Here we go. Okay. There we go. Our next screen here shares another document that we created, which is Scaffolding Language from Translation to Independence. Just wanted to point this out because it lets you know kind of when you should be using translation and how much translation you should be using based on the different levels. So I know it was mentioned in the video that for our EAL level 1 and 2 students, it would be beneficial to have some of the higher level content translated for them so that they can access the materials in your class. And then we would be moving slowly towards less and less use of translation and more support with the English. So this is a document that can help you determine how much translation you should be allowing for students and also providing for students. Just wanted to bring to your attention this planning document that's actually available on the back of the Continuum of Support document that was linked previously. Just so you're aware, there's a little chart on the back there that has a column for intensive support, targeted support, and limited support. And in your class, you could list the students who would fit into each of these categories so that you're aware of the supports that would be appropriate for each level, and just keep top of mind that when you see that student in front of you, that's their level, and to allow for some pre-planning regarding supports that are going to be available for them in the classroom. Okay, and now if you would like to click here for a document, and the document that is linked here is the Scaffolds for EAL Students on a Writing Task document. I did share this with you by email earlier as well. And I'm just suggesting that you have it open either on your computer or you have it printed out, just because the information is a little bit hard to see on the slides, so you might want to refer to it outside of the slides so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so we're going to start with the scaffolds and supports for EAL Level 5 students. You can see there's checkboxes kind of here, and I'm going to address a number of these checkboxes, showing you some practical ways that you can use these strategies on exams or assessments for your students. And these would be for our EAL Level 5 students, so for limited, who would be having limited support. Again, being mindful that on a PAT, we don't have a lot of control about what supports we can provide, but I wanted to point out the ones that we do are able to offer students. So number one is students have the opportunity to practice language in small group discussions. Again, there is a 10-minute talk time at the beginning of a writing assessment on the PAT. And so this would be an opportunity for all of our students to practice language in small group. And hopefully you have been practicing this all year so that you could have modeled some ways that you can talk about what you're going to be writing about, and then students would have access to that support. And again, any supports that are available for level 5 students would be a benefit for many students in your class, including all of the students who are maybe level 3s and 4s and 1s and 2s as well. So as we go down from level 5 down to level 1, all the previous ones mentioned are useful for all of the students in your class. The other one is, next one there is students can be taught throughout the year to use graphic organizers, and then on their planning page of the PAT, record their thoughts in a graphic organizer that they draw. So a graphic organizer cannot be provided to a student, but if a student knows what a graphic organizer is and has practiced using it throughout the year, they could draw that graphic organizer on their planning page. Again, it's a visual of what a student is going to be doing when they're writing, and it might help some of our EAL students with making sure that their ideas are cohesive and in a way that they're looking for on the PAT. And then the last thing on the PAT is students have the opportunity to use a thesaurus or dictionary. And this tool is built into Veretta when writing the exam on a computer, or they could have the print resources available in their class as well. So for our level 5 students on an exam throughout the year or in grade 7 or 8, so it wouldn't be a PAT, limited support regarding explicit vocabulary instruction, especially tier 2 and 3 vocabulary. Okay, you could look at using a graphic organizer to investigate some vocabulary words that may need support on an exam. So you could possibly include a Freyer model at the beginning of an exam and allow students in the class to work together to complete it prior to the exam starting. I know if I had a class of students for an entire semester, I would want to put some sort of graphic organizer at the beginning of every exam, and I would get students to do kind of an investigation before we started writing the exam to look for some of those tier 2 words that they're not sure about. So if a student says, hey, I don't know what analyze means, we could complete that for that exam. The next exam, we would investigate a different academic word. So by the end of the year, they would have some graphic organizers where we had done an investigation into what they were, and they're now able to use them. So again, when they get to it on a PAT, they're thinking, oh, I've seen this word analyze before. I know what it means. I know what this question is asking. So that's a way that you could include explicit vocabulary instruction for our level 5 students. Also use of visual word walls to support tier 2 and 3 vocabulary, and these can be created by students and left on the wall throughout the unit or for the whole year, especially those academic words that are used in all units. And then structured academic talk, use sentence frames to help students use new vocabulary and context. For example, I predict the new character will blank because blank. And these sentence frames can be used for writing, but also can be used for speaking. So again, this doesn't have to be something that you prepare beforehand. It can be something that's done in the moment. And so we're calling those micro scaffolds, things that you just notice your students are struggling, maybe with using their academic language, you could write this sentence frame just up on the whiteboard and encourage students to use these academic words. Next, we're going to look at modeling cohesive devices, and we also have a great document for cohesive devices that is linked there as well. So students can refer to cohesive devices throughout the year and be encouraged to use them, especially the more advanced cohesive devices. And I will let you know that on this document that we created, the cohesive devices at the end, or the kind of the last column, would be the more level 5 cohesive devices that we would be looking for. So it would be a good idea to direct students specifically to the higher level ones to increase that academic rigor and expectations on our level 5 students so they can find success in the more academic stream classes. Okay, we're now going to look at an example of paragraph frames for a writing task. And again, you will have seen this assignment already because it was in our previous little video, but this is a grade 9 PAT assignment of narrative and essay writing. And paragraph frames are a scaffold that could be provided to build confidence and also model what the expectations are. And this scaffold could be reduced as the student shows increased competency. The goal would be that by the final exam, the student would not need this support. And just wanted to point out about how AI can help with this scaffold. I used AI to come up with the paragraph frames for this topic, and I've just typed here on the screen exactly what I asked Copilot to do. So Copilot is similar to ChatGPT. Any of them do similar things, so you can decide whichever one's your favorite, you can use that. So I just asked Copilot to provide a paragraph frame for an EAL student to support them writing on this task, and then I included the task there. I then took what it had provided and said, okay, option 1, if you're choosing to do a narrative, here's an example of what paragraph 1 would look like, 2, 3, and 4. And then option 2 is the essay paragraph. Again, some examples of what that could look like. So if I was doing this task initially, maybe in the beginning of the year, and we were starting, I would provide the support for my level 5 students so they knew what the expectations were. It also models showing variety in sentences, using higher level words. And so we would use this and refer back to it throughout the year. And by the time they get to the end of the year and maybe they're in grade 9 writing a PAT, they would no longer need this because they are well trained in what the paragraph or the essay should look like. And again, you have access to this on the document that was shared there before. Okay, we're going to move on to our targeted supports, which we would use for our EAL level 3 and 4 students. Again, you can see a checklist here, and I'm going to address some of the items here of what you could do on an assessment task or an exam for our level 3 and 4 students. So for targeted support related to vocabulary support, you could have a kind of, what do we call this? Dictionary, I guess, of the important words related to the writing task that we're doing. And you can see here that I would be giving the students the words, and then I would have the meanings or the synonyms in the next column. And then the last column is an image, and I've left that column blank. So what you could do here is get students to sketch note a very simple image to show that they understand what that word means. Again, as a teacher, a micro scaffold that I could do, I can wander around and check for understanding. If they're able to come up with an image that shows responsibility, I know that they know what that word now means and will be able to use it in their assignment. And again, you can use AI to help. You can ask AI to give you synonyms for words in the writing prompt. Another scaffold or support for our level 3 and 4 students is providing exemplars. So if students can see what is expected of them, then they can then move forward knowing, how long is it supposed to be? What types of words should I be using? So again, I used AI for this, and I asked them to just create an exemplar of the first paragraph for the writing task. So I'm not going to give them the whole piece of writing, but here's an example of what the first paragraph could look like for the narrative and for the essay. Another support here that's listed on our document is providing sentence frames for our level 3 and 4 students. And the specific purpose of sentence frames for level 3 and 4 students is to encourage sentence variety. So rather than saying I like over and over and over again, you can see here this gives an example of how you could say similar things but in different ways. That sentence variety shows a higher level of academic writing. And so we want to be encouraging that in our level 3 and 4 students. And you can see here, it's split by the narrative and then all the different types of sentences as well as the essay. Again, this is available in the document that was shared. Okay, we're going to move on to the intensive supports. And so our level 1 and 2 students who are in our classes, first of all, are not receiving grades, but our hope is always that our level 1 and 2 students are engaging in the content that you're doing in your class, and we're providing supports for them so that they can engage in that content. So we're going to be using the same writing prompt for our level 1 and 2 students, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make some supportive changes to the task so that they can access it. So you can see here that the instructions are similar, but just simplified. So they're still asked to write a story or short essay about why it's important to be responsible. In brackets, do what you're supposed to do for your own actions. And then again, just simplified. There's also what the word responsible means is recorded here in simple terms. There's an image to help students know what responsible means. Then you can see here their task now is going to be to complete this paragraph, which is a close sort of paragraph. So it has some blanks in it. And at the bottom, there's a word bank, the words that would be going into the blanks. Now, our level 1 and 2 students might be accessing translation tools. So they could be using Screenshot Reader to kind of read it in their home language, and then they would be relating it back to English in order to complete this. So again, you can see for intensive support related to this task, there's supportive changes to the task. We're not asking them to write a paragraph. We've given them the paragraph and they're filling in the blanks. You can see that visuals were given. You can also see that sentence frames were used, and you can also see that there's a word bank for the students. So next, I wanted to talk about the pre-level 1 students. So we consider students to be pre-level 1 students if they have very limited English and or limited schooling prior to coming to Canada and or limited literacy skills. So for a pre-level 1 student, the level 1-2 tasks that I just showed you before, they would not have the literacy skills to be able to read the words there yet. But we also want these students to be able to engage in the topic that you're speaking about. So you can see here, I have a PWIM task. So PWIM is a picture word induction model task. And I've also linked a PWIM student template on the screen here, and my colleagues will put it in the chat as well. The template looks like this, but it just doesn't have an image on it or the words. So you are welcome to use this. And the only thing you would need to do to use this with students in your class is find an image related to the topic that you are testing students on in your class. So if it was in science class and you were doing trees and forests, you could find an image of a forest and have a student then label the items in there. So again, the PWIM task, you can see there's an image. The next part of the page there is label, and you can see words have been given there. So pencil, computer, wash, and I've done the example of how to label the pencil, and then student a pre-level 1 student could see computer, maybe they could get that word read to them, maybe they could get it read in their home language, and then hopefully they could find the computer in the picture and then label the computer. And then on the bottom, you can see some sentences. And these sentences are designed to be kind of one-word answers. So I see, and then the student could possibly copy computer, and they could write computer there. So again, please feel free to use the student template, and all you would have to do is find an image related to the topic that you would like to do, depending on the student's level and their ability to print or write. You would maybe just put the vocabulary words in the label section, but otherwise it would be a limited amount of time you would need to dedicate to make something like this for your pre-level 1 students. And just here, you'll see on the screen, there's some examples of some poems that students have completed. So again, here's an example of a picture with a forest. You can see on the right here, the student wrote the squirrel, and then once maybe a student has increased their English, you can see here the squirrel consumed. So again, you can use the poem activity and tailor it to the level that the student is at, and maybe some students would have 2-word responses for the sentence frame, and maybe some would just have 1. Knowing the reality of a junior high classroom, most exams are multiple choice exams. So I did want to talk briefly about some tips and tricks for multiple choice exams. So some scaffolds or supports that you could provide on a multiple choice exam is to add visual support. I just wanted to talk to you, the way I include visuals when I'm working in any, like a Google Doc or Google Slides or anything like that, is I just click on insert and then image, and then I choose the option of stock and web. And so all of the images that are available in stock, and you can search for images. So for example, I just searched government and this little picture came up. These are all licensable, I think that's the word. So you're allowed to use them. They're free images that you can just insert. Also wanted to point out about the snipping tool. These are available on all of our computers. So you just click on this, and then again, you get like a little cross, and then you can draw it around something, and then it copies that, and then you can paste that on here. I know I use the snipping tool to, I know all the textbooks are digital now. If there was a really great maybe graphic organizer or chart or something that I wanted to reference and allow a visual for, I would just snip it from my digital textbook and then put it in onto my exam. And I just became aware of this today from one of my colleagues. This is Flat Icon. It's a free, quick copy and paste of icons and stickers. So again, simple images that could help support language for students if they come across a word and they're not sure what it means. A quick little simple image might help them access that word. Some other tips and tricks is to add a synonym in brackets after a higher level word, especially when that word is not the word that we're testing a student on. It's just part of the directions. It's a good idea to give kind of a synonym or a more simple word for it. So you can see here, which of the following countries is most biologically diverse? And then just in brackets, different. So that might allow students to access, they might know what different means, but they might be struggling with what diverse means. They would be more likely to be able to determine the correct answer with this support. And this last one is the use of bold or highlighted keywords in questions. Again, this does not have to be done beforehand. If you see a student is maybe struggling or asking you a question and they don't know what the question means, you could just come with your handy dandy highlighter and say, hey, you know what are the really important words in this question, and highlight those words. Does that help focus you on what you're looking for? And more often than not, that does help. And then even just the bolding one you could do beforehand, just bolding words that you really want the students to focus on to help them answer the question. Wanted to point this out. This is a website called I Love PDF. If you have a document or an exam that is a PDF, but you're wanting to add some of these supports, but you're not but you obviously can't edit a PDF, you can put the document on this website and it will convert it so that it is editable after. So just wanted to provide that option for everyone. Okay, and coming up here to some final thoughts. First of all, we shared a lot today, and we're hopeful that you saw scaffold or support that you feel confident in adding to an assessment. But also wanted to note that including one scaffold or support will make a difference for students in your class. Don't feel pressure to do all of them. I wanted to provide you lots of examples today, but I would never expect all of those scaffolds or supports to be put onto one assessment. So again, if you saw something today that really spoke to you and you thought, you know what, this would really help my students, maybe just adding one little thing to an assessment would be of a benefit. I know it would be a benefit for some of your students in your class. So appreciative of that. And then just a note that these scaffolds can be added at the beginning of the school year. And then a reminder that the goal is for them to be slowly removed as students gain competency. So these wouldn't be available to all students all the time. They would be removed as a student becomes more confident. Just wanted to point out to you our EAL course site. You'll see this available on EPD and it will direct you to a Google site. And we are working hard on kind of taking all of our information from each PD and putting it onto our course site in just a more user-friendly way that will be accessible. So please keep referring back to our course site often and you'll see that we're adding more things all the time. Oh, sorry, I just clicked the link there, which is not what I meant to do. Okay, maybe if I click down here, there we go. Also, just wanted to bring to your attention, we do have an EAL newsletter that comes out every month, and you can scan this QR code here, and it'll take you to the distribution list sign up. We highlight a country every month. We have a tips and tricks section. Highlight our upcoming PGs. So again, it just gets emailed at the beginning of every month. And if you're interested in joining the list, you can do so there. Just wanted to thank you so much for signing up and for attending. It was so great to see you all here. And please reach out if you have any questions. And I will open it up for questions in a second here. I think my colleague is going to stop our recording. Thank you so much.